many colleges that teach arts in a way that is excelling like it is in the US, I guess.
Right.
Because I have a learning disability, it was important for me to find a college that would accommodate for that, which hardly ever happens here.
I'm sure this video would help a lot of aspirants out there who are planning to go for the undergrad abroad. Let's quickly begin understanding about your background. If you could tell me what have you done in your 12th, and from there, how did this idea of going for your undergrad abroad come to you?
So basically, I did my schooling at Oberoi International School, which is an IB school, and I've been there since grade 4. So it's IB and then IGCSE and then IB again. So because it's IB, going abroad was always what was the aim, because after you do IB, it's a little difficult to stay in India for your studies, and the reason I chose the US was because art schools there are really good, and I thought that it'll be a good opportunity for me to go in a different country and learn more about their culture also and how their system works.
So, Sama, which universities did you end up going to? Where did you receive the admits from? And can you also list out all the options that you had considered for this course?
Okay, so I ended up going to the University of Evansville, which is in southern Indiana, and I had a lot of potential options. So I could have gone to Syracuse in New York, or George Mason in Washington, or even North Carolina State, which is in Raleigh. The reason that I picked the university I did though was because it was a small school, and while I was really battling in my head and considering whether to go to George Mason or to UE, I picked UE in the end because of its size and because of its incredible amount of A, international students, and B, the assistance we get from counselors. So when I was in the dilemma, I actually spoke to my counselor from my high school, and he suggested that it would probably be better for me as an undergrad to go to a small university, but when I do my masters, I think I would rather be in a bigger university, just because that would help me have more opportunities.
So, what all did you do in terms of getting into the university? By that I mean is for the application process, which were the things that you had to submit besides your academic score? So, if you could give us a gist of that, that would be helpful as well.
So apart from the transcripts, we also had to give them an essay, SAT scores, and there were like 3 questions that they had asked us, and we had to answer those. Plus, I had to pick a major instead of just going in as an undecided major.
So you had to pick a major before even starting the course?
Yes, so I got into the university, but they emailed me saying that our university's policy is that international students can't come in undecided. However, you can change your major at any stage, which is very good with American universities.
So that's great. I actually want to understand, how did the awareness hit you that you can actually pursue an undergrad abroad? Given the fact that this is a thing, but then not a lot of students know about this, and a lot of Indian students, they end up going to some or the other degree college in India itself. So how did that thought of going to the US directly came to your mind?
So like I said before, because I am from an IB background, it was always something that was in the books, but what gave me the push was A, they're not being very good, or not good, but there aren't many colleges that teach arts in a way that is excelling like it is in the US, I guess.
Right.
Also, because I have a learning disability, it was important for me to find a college that would accommodate for that, which hardly ever happens here. So I had to go outside, and that was what gave me the push.
Right. I also want to understand, how much time ideally should a student put in preparing for the SATs?
With preparing for the SATs, honestly, it depends on who you are and how good your English is really. So, and maths. So for me, it took me about a month and a half to prepare. So I did not want to give my SAT, especially because I have to give 8-hour SATs. which is a lot longer than the normal 6-hour SAT. So it was a big consideration for me, and I ended up giving the SAT, and I did get into a school that I wanted to get into.
All right. Talking about the learning disability that you just mentioned, could you give us some idea as to what it was and what was the exact challenge that you were facing finding universities?
Alright, so basically what happened was when I was 8, I got diagnosed with dyslexia, and that means I have some trouble reading and writing, and instructions need to be given to me in a specific manner for me to be able to process it. So that's not necessarily what happens in India, just in general, purely because there's so many students in one class that teachers cannot focus on one student the whole time. But abroad they have special counseling services, and they help you deal with the disability, and they help you seek any accommodations that are required. So for me, I had to be given a separate room to test in, and I get 150% of the time that other people get. So it's just those little things, but they make a big difference when it comes to grading.
All right. Okay. So, how were you able to, sail through the 4 years of your undergrad? Did you ever had any difficulty, learning anything over there, or you were able to, because of the great guidance that you received in the US, you were able to sail through those 4 years pretty smooth? What was that experience like?
So it was challenging. I'm not gonna say it wasn't challenging, but the only difference was that I always had a counselor who would help me out in case I was having any trouble with any class, or if I needed extra time and some professor would just flat out refuse to give it. I could always reach out to my counselor and she would help me out with that. Or with papers, some professors were adamant that you have to write your papers, but because of my problem, I'm not able to write long papers, or even anything that is longer than say about 10 lines. I'm not able to do that in a speed in which I would be able to finish the paper properly. So my counselor would talk to the professor if need be to allow me to take the extra time, the laptop, and be able to do my papers in a separate room.
The other question I have is, how did you go ahead shortlisting your universities? Because at this stage, we understand there's so much to take into account, be it the rankings, be it the culture, be it the temperature, the climate, etc. But at that time, what were the factors that you had in your mind while you were shortlisting universities? Apart from definitely the fact that you wanted universities to give you certain assistance, but what else were the things in your mind apart from that?
So in Overall, for example, we have counselors, college counselors. They help us select what colleges we should pick. So they told us you need a certain number of reach schools, you need a certain number of schools you know you'll get into, and so certain number of schools you're 100% sure that no matter what you're going to get into them either way.
Right.
So those are the kind of universities you have to pick. So for me personally, I picked schools that were better in the arts, so communication, visual art, or film even. And then I went from there. I went in as an undecided major, but because of the policy of my university, I had to pick one, and I went with communications in the beginning.
Which all subjects did you opt going forward in the 4 years of your undergrad?
So because I had 3 majors, I did a lot of classes. For communications, I had to do classes like journalism, professional speaking, and media studies and media law. For visual art, we had to do courses like painting, printmaking, ceramics, jewelry making. And for visual communication design, we had photography, we had layout design, we had publication. So we had a lot of courses that would give you technical knowledge instead of just theories.
All right, that's wonderful. There's one question I want to ask you, because you are someone who has gone there, been there, done that. So this is something that might pop up in minds of all the students who are planning to go for undergrad abroad. How is the first day of the college like? Does it feel odd how different did it feel from the college days in India, the school days in India? So, what were certain stark differences that you could observe very quickly, being a student in India and being a student in the US?
So it was honestly quite nerve-wracking, to be honest. But the first day, the first class I went to, I remember it was a communications class, and because it was a Gen Ed class, which means general education class, it had students from all ages. So there were freshmen like me who was just 17, and there were seniors who were like almost 22 at that point. And because we were at such different levels in our education, the teacher had to make it interesting for everybody and involve everybody, which was something I felt was really cool that she was able to do that. And the other thing was the dressing was different. So in school, obviously, we have uniforms,
Right.
but in college, you would get to decide what you wear, and what you wear is kind of funny, honestly, in the first few days, because you see people that are completely dressed up in dresses and heels and makeup and all of that. But on the other hand, there are also people who go to class straight away in their pajamas, so it's pretty funny.
All right, okay. If I have to ask you, in those 4 years of your undergrad, any memory that you remember, something memorable must have happened. It could either be, some concert that you visited, or it could be just a day that you remember very well. So, do you have any such memories to share with us?
Well, I have a couple. So one of them is International Bazaar. So at our university, we had this thing called International Bazaar, and everybody would get to present and like represent their own countries. And my first International Bazaar was great, and I got to represent India. But after that, I got more and more involved with the club that did the bazaar, that took care of the event, and that really helped me um, to meet new people from different countries and different backgrounds, and it was just a wonderful experience overall. The other thing was with snow. We don't have snow, so it was a very weird thing to see in the first place. And one of the days we were snowed in, and classes got cancelled, but all of my friends were in the same dorm, which was great. So we were watching a Bollywood movie downstairs, and all of them are American except one person who is from Africa. So we were just watching the movie in like comfy shorts and things like that. And one of my friends decided to pick me up and throw me out in the snow barefoot. That was not fun, but it was a good memory.
Wonderful. I can sense from you the kind of fun you must have had that time. Uh, really fun memories, I must say. So that brings me to another question, Sama. That is, once you graduated, right? The fact that you had really good assistance in your education in the US, and again you made so many great memories. So, what was your thought after graduation? Did you plan to work over there, or you had other plans coming back to India? What was the thought process back then?
So I had my plan originally was to stay there and work there, then do my masters and then keep working there. But what happened was, because I'm not on a STEM visa, that STEM OPT rather, it means that I don't get the 3-year extension that other students have. So because I only get 1-year visa, not many people are willing to hire graduates that only have a 1-year visa, especially if it's just your bachelor's degree. So I thought, okay, what if I do my master's immediately? But then I thought that no, wait, I want to get some experiences to be sure that this is what I want to do in my life. Otherwise, I always have the opportunity to change my mind and do my master's in something else. So that was the thought behind that, and that's why I came back and I'm working here now in India.
Wonderful, wonderful to know that, Sama. Before we wrap up this conversation, I would want to end this with an advice that you would like to give to potential students back in India who are planning to pursue their undergrad abroad, or I would say who are still in a dual mind to do it. And I completely understand this dilemma of theirs because there is not much information available out there. Not many students are doing this right now. Maybe 5 years down the line, this could be a very normal thing to move out after your 12th, but right now it isn't. So for all these students who are still in this particular dilemma, what would be that one advice that you would give to them?
I would definitely say research about your university and research about the location, because my university, while it was great, the location where it was in the middle of Indiana. So there's basically nothing there, and it's really hard to travel anywhere from that point. So definitely look at the location at where you're going, because even if I had to come to India or go back to my university, it was a hassle, and I had to take a plane from Chicago, which was really expensive compared to what my friends were able to do, because they were in bigger universities. They could just take a bus that they had from their university available to take them to and from the airport.